Hi, everybody. As you're coming on to, this is the original Bordeaux Graves-Sauternes webinar with the Somme Journal. We're just waiting for everybody to log on, and we're going to get started in just a minute. So welcome. See a few people still coming on, but it is 1 minute past the hour, so we're going to get ourselves started here. Welcome, everybody. This is Lars Light from the Somme Journal. Welcome to our webinar, The Original Bordeaux, Graves-Sauternes, with Jesse Becker, MS, and some guest winemakers from the region, which Jesse is going to introduce shortly. But some housekeeping rules right up front. I want to let you know that this is being recorded. It is also streaming live on Facebook Live. And there will be a written update in the Somme Journal October issue. So be sure to grab that, check it out. If you don't already have a subscription, let us know. It is complimentary to the trade, and you can send me a note at lars@sommejournal.com if you're not already subscribing. We'd love to have you enjoy our publication as well. And we also have great pleasure of collaborating with the Somme Foundation, who has given a very generous chance at a scholarship. And here to give us a little bit more details for that is Emily Gold from the Somme Foundation. Emily, welcome.
Thank you, Lars. Welcome, everyone. So thank you to the Somme Journal. Everyone participating in this webinar has the opportunity to write an essay for a competition to win $500. There will be 2 $500 scholarships awarded to the top 2 essays. Within the next 48 hours, you will receive an email if you have attended this webinar with the word count, the deadline, all of that information in one place for you, as well as the link. The deadline for this will be midnight on July 31st, and we will announce the 2 winning recipients by August 12th. So thank you all so much and have fun.
Awesome. Good luck with that, everybody. Just a reminder that, as I said, this is being recorded. So not only on Facebook Live, but if you go to sommejournal.com, you'll be able to watch the recording by later today. And in addition to this wonderful scholarship, our partners at Gregory and Vine are throwing in a little sampling of some of the wines of the region too for the essay winners. So you've got that to look forward to as well, a little bit of inspiration. So we invite you to put your questions, if you have during the presentation, put them into the chat section or the Q&A. I will be monitoring those and posing them to our panelists when the opportunity arrives. But having said that, it is my great honor to introduce to you Jesse Becker, who has worked for some of the top restaurants in the U.S. He's harvested in some key regions. He's achieved the MS rank, the Master Sommelier, and he is also a certified wine educator. And very germane to today's topic, he is a CIVB Bordeaux Scholar and Ambassador to the Bordeaux region. So Jesse, it's an honor to have you here. Welcome. And please tell us what we're talking about today and who we're talking with.
Well, it's really a pleasure. Thank you very much, Lars, and thank you for the very nice introduction. We couldn't have asked for 2 better representatives of the Graves region today. We have with us Olivier Bernard, who is the director of the Domaine de Chevalier, one of my very favorite estates. Hello, bonjour, Olivier, hello.
Bonjour, Jesse. Bonjour. Yes.
In addition to Domaine de Chevalier, Olivier has his hands in a number of estates in the Graves region. So it's excellent that we have his perspective today. And we also have Miguel Aguirre from Château La Tour Blanche. Miguel, hello.
Hello. Bonjour. Bonjour. Bonjour tout le monde.
Of course, Château La Tour Blanche is a premier cru classified in the 1855 classification from Sauternes. Again, he will be speaking to us about both the Barsac and Sauternes appellations, but 2 fantastic guests today. So thank you both for joining us. And I also have to say to you and to for everyone listening, or in our audience today. We're especially appreciative that you could join us today. I think most people have seen in the news the wildfires that have been happening very near the Bordeaux wine region. I think something like 20,000 hectares have sadly burned in the last week or so. So I'm sure you'll be getting some questions about this, Olivier and Miguel, but we just want to say, with all of the stress and worry that comes with that you would take your time to join us today is especially we're grateful for that. So thank you very much. So what I wanted to do today is just give you sort of an overview of the Graves region. And then I really want to hand it over to Olivier and Miguel to really speak about these 4 major appellations of the Graves region. But we really encourage your questions and comments about these appellations. So please type those into the chat. Lars is going to monitor that throughout the presentation. He'll throw some of those questions my way while we have Olivier and Miguel speaking. And we've also saved hopefully a little time at the end to take care of that, any remaining questions. So with that, I'm going to jump over to a presentation. And by the way, everyone will be receiving this media kit about this incredible region after the presentation today. So I'm using this media kit in our presentation today because there's a lot of fantastic facts here. A lot of the basic things that you really need to know about the region are all presented here. And just so you're aware, everybody will be receiving this after the presentation today. So here's our game plan, if you will. I'm going to do a short introduction to the region and then turn it over to Olivier to speak about Graves and Pessac-Léognan. And then we'll follow that with a discussion about Sauternes and Barsac with Miguel. And then, like I said, we'll have some time towards the end for some additional questions. So let's get our bearings here. First of all, we all, I think, know where Bordeaux is, so southwest France on the Atlantic coast. But as we look at this general map of the Bordeaux region, you need to train your eye to the sort of bottom of the map there, south of the city of Bordeaux. And along the Garonne River, for about 50 kilometers, you have this region called the Graves. And within the Graves region, we have 4 major appellations that we're really focusing on today. Pessac-Léognan, Graves itself, Barsac, and Sauternes. And just while we have this map up, I'll just point out the proximity of the Atlantic, the Bay of Arcachon there, and that land forest, which I think is detailed on the following slide, but all of these things sort of come together in addition to the Garonne River to sort of define this area that we're speaking about today. And this is something that's in this media kit that you'll be receiving following the presentation. I love what we've done here. Just gives us sort of the drone or bird's eye view of the appellation, starting in the northern part of the Graves. And you can see the city of Bordeaux there. And sometimes we call this region the gateway to Bordeaux because a lot of the vineyards, especially in Pessac-Léognan, are very, very near to the city of Bordeaux. And in fact, if you want to visit these regions, these producers, these appellations, it's very, very easy to do being based in the city of Bordeaux. While we have this image of the northern part of the Graves up on the screen, I think it should probably speak about the forest, the land, which you see there and in the background. And this is actually an important feature of the region. It's this forest, this hilly region near the Atlantic, protects the vineyards of the Graves region. And also maybe should mention here the soils, because Graves, of course, is named after these deep gravelly beds, these croup that come from the Garonne River. And so Graves comes from gravel. That's where the name of the region comes from. But with that being said, the region is not just gravelly soils. That it is much more geologically diverse than that. And in fact, once we're in the southern part of the Graves, which is what we see here, the closer we are to Sauternes and Barsac, the more that we find limestone soils and sometimes clay or sandy soils. So it's not just gravelly soils. I'm going to ask Olivier and Miguel to speak about that in a little bit more in depth, but more geologically diverse than just gravels, because here limestone is key, and it's what it's part of the character of these great wines of the southern Graves, Sauternes, Barsac. Part of the character, of course, comes from these limestone soils. Maybe a bit difficult to see on this map, but while we have this up on the screen, should definitely point out the Cironne. A Cironne comes from the Landes forest. It's a small river. You can see it sort of divides Sauternes and Barsac on this map, and it meets the Garonne. The thing that's important here is that the Cironne is a cool sort of stream, and it comes into contact with the much warmer Garonne. And this is part of why you have this this certain humidity that sort of lingers here, especially in the autumn months. And it's what brings us botrytis to make these world-class sweet wines from here. So that's a very, I think, key geographical feature there is the Cironne, and where the Cironne meets the Garonne river. Maybe just a few more interesting facts here for you. So of course, Bordeaux itself is the largest appellation in all of France, with over 110,000 hectares. So it's an enormous AOC, but this particular area of the Graves makes up just 6% of the vineyards in Bordeaux. So it's around 17,600 acres, and there are 4 major appellations here, which are listed at the bottom of this screen. We've got Graves, Pessac-Léognan, Sauternes, and Barsac. And very uniquely and very important on this, this slide, we point out the fact that we have dry red wines, dry white wines, and world-class sweet wine. It's really the only appellation in Bordeaux that has that distinction of producing all 3 of these styles at a very, very high level of quality. Lots sort of compacted onto this slide, but one thing I wanted to sort of focus in on here is the history. Sometimes we call the Graves region the original Bordeaux. The reason for that is that it is quite old. This is really the birthplace of claret, of these blended wines that first made their way to England in the Middle Ages. And so it's sort of where Bordeaux originated. We've got some other historical points here. I could point to the fact that Chateau Pape Clement is the very first sort of named or branded chateau of the entire Bordeaux region, going back to the 14th century. Of course, this is also the home of the 1855 classification. Those wines of Sauternes and Barsac were classified in that classification of 1855. Following that, a little bit later on, there was a classification of the Graves. It was entirely focused on the region that is now Pessac-Léognan, but it's where we find the great classified estates for both dry white and red wine in Pessac-Léognan. Olivier is going to speak about the formation of Pessac-Léognan in 1987. I'm going to lean on him heavily to explain a bit more about the regions of Graves and Pessac-Léognan. I think with that, Olivier, I'm going to turn it over to you. First, just giving us a sort of general sense of the Graves and Pessac-Léognan appellations.
So the Graves is a wonderful region on the left bank of the river, as you say. In the north of the rivers, you have the Médoc, and on the south of the river, south of Bordeaux, we have the Graves. The Graves is a very old region, and geographically, inside in the Graves, we have Sauternes in the south of the Graves, and Sauternes and Barsac are very different in terms of soil than the rest of the Graves. Where we are, north of the Graves region, is called Pessac-Léognan, is really where the region of red and white wine is really born. We have in this region some chateaux with the same name for 700, 800, 900 years. And when there was no vine in the Medoc, there was already vine for many centuries in this region. So this region of Graves is very old. But in the same time, this is a paradox of this region, is that the classification of the Graves is only from 1953. The Pessac-Léognan appellation is only from 1987. So it's quite new. And this is a paradox of this region between this very old story and in the same time, this very new reconnaissance. And Pessac-Léognan, there is this property, Domaine de Chevalier, where I'm situated, is from the 17th century. The house is from the 17th century, but the vineyard is coming back 200 years before. And so this region is very old with vine, but in the same time, it's very new because Pessac-Léognan is quite new. So there is energy, a full energy in this region. And we have many people are family and generally speaking in Graves-Sauternes, the owner are living on their property. They are making their own wine. It's not a big insurance group who own the vineyard. It's really family behind the wine. And for me, this fine way to make wine, this human part of making wine is a part of the success of this region, because this region is really done by the fine and elegant definition. And if you want a big wine, is not in this region, you know. This region is very well known to be fine, elegant, aging wonderfully, and also showing quality after a few years. So you don't need to wait 10 or 15 years. You can have a wonderful 2018, for example. 2018 is a wonderful vintage for us. It's nice to drink now, even if this wine can age for another 10, 15, 20, 30 years without any problem. We opened 1953 Domaine de Chevalier 3 days ago. He was just not a baby, but he was still a young guy. So these wines are aging very well, but at the same time, they have wonderful, they are quite feminine, you know. We very often say that this wine of Graves are charming, and you can drink them quite quickly also. And that's for the red. But we do also produce dry white wine, and the very few people know that the dry white wine can age for a long time. And for me, most of the white wine must age 5 years minimum. But some wine, like Domaine de Chevalier, like Aubryon Blanc, can age for 10, 15, 20, 25 years. I hope you love Burgundy. I hope you love Champagne. I hope you love some great Californian Chardonnay. And you know that this best white wine, dry white wine, can age for 15, 20, 25 years. And I love this complexity of this wine coming with time, because they are not talking anymore from the fruit, from the oak, from the acidity, but they are talking from the soil. And the soil needs time to really express this complexity of the roots, going down to 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 meters down. And the roots will tell to the fruit all the expression of the soil. And if you respect your fruit, if you respect your soil, if you respect your plants, you can get in your fruit, so you can get in your wine. Give me a good fruit, I will give you a good wine. And for me, the secret of the great wine is coming from the great fruit. And this is the most important thing for me. Give me a great fruit, I will give you a great wine.
Well, Olivier, as you're speaking, we already see some questions coming in, and one of the questions is about soil. And I think, hello, visitors. Hello. Bonjour. One of the things that I was thinking about while you were speaking, and I wanted to make sure you touched on, is soil in Bordeaux really dictates what varieties are planted in what areas. And I wanted to make sure we covered that, yes, Graves produces great sweet wines, fantastic dry white wines, but also red. It's still mainly a red wine appellation, correct?
You know, I wrote a book on the 45th parallel saying that we need freshness for white, we need maturity for red. So the Graves region is wonderful because you have some soil ready to mature Cabernet Sauvignon, but you have also some soil who are ready to make some very nice Sauvignon Blanc with a wonderful acidity. And so you will not plant the same, these two grapes variety on the same soil. The Cabernet Sauvignon need a warm part of your property. The Sauvignon need a cold part. So where we have clay is mostly Sauvignon, and then we have Merlot, and then we have Cabernet Franc or Petit Verdot, and then we finish with Cabernet Sauvignon because Cabernet Sauvignon need maturity. We always finish the harvest with Cabernet Sauvignon. So we start with Sauvignon, and then we do the Semillon, then the Merlot, Cabernet Franc, Petit Verdot, Cabernet Sauvignon. So we need the warmest soil to be to have the Cabernet Sauvignon. And with the global warming, it's very interesting to see the evolution. And Graves and Pessac-Léognan have been more white in the past than today, because with the global warming, Bordeaux is becoming more red. And we have to be very careful with our white. We have to reserve the cold part of our terroir for the Sauvignon, because especially with the global warming, perhaps you know that we have an incredible July, very hot and dry in Bordeaux, a little bit like Napa. And we need to protect the white in the future, because this weather is very good for red, but we'll have to protect our white. So Bordeaux, for many generations, the great vintage of Bordeaux were the warm vintage, because on the 45th parallel where we are situated, we are a little bit north. And so we need warm soil, we need warm vintage to make great wine. But with the global warming, we have seen in the last 10 years that we are able to make great vintage in the average vintage in terms of weather. And 2010, for example, for me is really one of the best Bordeaux red we have done in the last 30 years. And it has been not done in a warm vintage like 2009, like 2005, like 2020. 2010 was quite cold, and we are able today. So I very often say that we have, in the past, we have to put the foot on the gas, on the maturity. We were looking for maturity. We were looking for sun. Today, we are a little bit more, the foot is coming on the brake also. We have sometimes enough maturity, sometimes too much maturity. So we have to learn in Bordeaux to put the foot on the brake, like Spanish people do, like, of course, Californian people do. And Bordeaux, today, we have to be careful with this weather, with this change of weather.
Joseph, I hope the question you asked was answered. I thought it was answered perfectly by Olivia. Thank you. Another question that I saw in the Q&A that I knew was going to come up. People want to know about the forest fires. Are you affected? Can you smell the smoke in the air? Can you just tell us a little bit about the situation at the moment?
As you have seen on your map, the Graves region has the river on the right side and the big forest of land on the left side. So on the west side we are on the forest, on the east side we are on the ground. And so the problem is really on the west side of this Graves region. The fire is 15 kilometers from here. So when the wind, we are north of this fire. So when the wind is coming south, the smoke is coming north, and people are really working on it. But it's not finished. It's not the domination is still on the fire is still working, and for us it's a big problem, and we'll have to be solidaire. I don't know what the name in English for that, but solidarité. And I will tell you that the forest is part of our vineyard. The forest is part of our terroir. And it's not a joke. You know, I know that in Napa, for example, when you have some eucalyptus close to your vineyard, you can have the nose on the eucalyptus. And here we have pine trees on very close to our vineyard, and you can smell these pine trees also in our wine. And we love that. And the forest makes this region a little bit colder. The forest protects this region about hell, and the forest is also a wonderful diversity of animal, of insect, of ecology, and so we have to protect this forest, and we'll be very close to these people making pine trees in the future. Because it's a big catastrophe in this region, I can tell you. Big catastrophe, yes.
Well, Louis and Miguel, I think a lot of the people in our audience today live in California wine country. We've been dealing with the same issue. So for what it's worth, we are in solidarity with. We feel the pain, and we hope that the fire will be finished soon, I hope. So thanks for that. Olivia, before I turn it over to Miguel, I had one final question of my own that I wanted to ask you about. We see now that the regions of the appellations of Sauternes, Barsac, Pessac-Léognan, and Graves are now really speaking of solidarity in working together to promote their region, to make the wines even better known than they are today. Can you speak about this I guess this camaraderie that seems like something new? It's something that I see as a really positive thing.
As you said, this Graves and Sauternes region is a big region where we have a great chance to be able to produce some of the best red, because we have a classification and we have Aubryon in the classification of red, but we have also the best dry white wine of Bordeaux are all situated in this region of Pessac-Léognan, and with the classification also in Graves. And in this region also, we are able to produce a sweet wine in Sauternes and Barsac, where we have this classification from 1855 with the best classified growth of sweet wine of Bordeaux. So this region is wonderful, but in the same time, behind this top wine, we have a lot of different winemakers. We have something like 1,000 or 700 winemakers in total in this region. And so we can talk about this classifying growth, of course, but we have a lot of properties which are not so well known. And I have to say that the quality of the wine in this region is very honest, because the people don't want to make a big wine, or they are just making the wine of their soil, and with a family mentality. And really, I love the wine of this region of Graves and Sauternes, because they are nature wine. You know, at Domaine de Chevalier, we have 200 hectares in this region of Sauternes, Graves, and Pessac-Léognan on 5 different properties. They are all organic, And I can tell you that many people are working on the organic way today. And this is the future of the best wine in the world. Organic will not have any other option in the future.
Yeah, and I just put the classification of the Grave on the screen for everyone to see. And Domaine de Chevalier is classified both for its dry red and its dry white. And I think this is the point I was getting at with my question, is that it's fantastic that we have someone like you, Olivier, or Miguel from Château La Tour Blanche here speaking about the entire region. And I think the idea is to lift everybody up to this place where I think these appellations deserve to be known. So thank you for that, Olivier. Thanks for answering all the questions. I want to turn it now over to Miguel. Miguel, I'd really like to have you speak about Barsac and Sauternes, what makes this region unique. I have one slide that might help. It's a fantastic diagram of the soil and the showing the elevation. But Miguel, I want to turn it over to you to speak about Sauternes and Barsac.
Hi, everybody. Thanks to Jesse, Lars, Emily to permit me to speak about Sauternes and Barsac and share our passion and our amazing terroir. Sauternes in Barsac is at the end of Pessac, Léognan, and Graves. But the big difference, it's terroir, but also climate. We have a very region where we have more humidity than Pessac, Léognan, and Graves, and with this condition permits the development of one fungus, the Botrytis cinerea. This Botrytis permits to make great wines because this fungus attacks the grapes and dehydrate, make lose the water of grapes. And so the concentration of grapes and sugar permits to make a very amazing wine. But if maybe before to speak about the two appellations, Barsac and Sauternes, Barsac it's more a small appellation. It's 400 hectares. Sauternes is biggest because we have 1,600, more than 1,600 hectares. The Barsac have a more limestone soils, and Sauternes have a more clay soils. You can see in this slide the big difference. Barsac is very near than Garonne, and the soil are very clay and with also a lot of argile, and in Barsac we have a lot of clay. Sorry, and after when we go to the Sauternes, we have more hills and we have more limestone and very fine gravels. It's one part in the beginning of the Graves and Pessac Léognan. These gravels are right with Garonne and finish after in Graves and Pessac Léognan. Often we say Barsac gives more minerality in the wine because the clay are more close in of the roots of vines, and the Sauternes have often more body with a style with maybe more body, but always with a lot elegance. Olivier say in the all part of Sauternes, Barsac, Pessac, Léognan, and Graves, we make often very wines with nice. It's not big wines. It's always elegant with personality. But if people need to keep something in memory, it's this. We try to touch the more elegant wine when we have the choice and during the harvest. we try to make the more decision to make this kind of wine.
Thanks, Miguel. There's been questions coming in as you've been speaking, and I think this is a really interesting question because a big topic in Bordeaux today is sustainability. You've already spoken, both of you have already spoken about it, but this question was really about the use of French oak, and of course that's the tradition in Sauternes and Barsac to age the wines in small French oak barrels. The question is about with the of course they're very expensive to replace every year, but also maybe the sustainability idea. Do you have any comments about the use of barrels? Do you see things evolving or changing on that front?
The barrels in Bordeaux and in Pessac and Sauternes are very important. We need this part in aging to make great wine. But barrels become very technical things because we want to keep expression of fruits. 20-25 years ago, it's not the same, but now we try to keep this freshness, and barrels are very important. All price increase now. Barrels is the same. I think maybe I see the question, but if you wanted to keep and to make good wine, you need maybe increase your price because we need barrels for make this wine. After the question is the part of new barrels in all of your wines, maybe to buy less new barrels and have maybe different different barrels. One barrels with only one wine. Some barrels with two wines. You can try to keep 3-4 times your barrels for different vintage.
And
yes,
Jesse?
and maybe another question. Yes.
Yeah, Jesse, concerning oak, of course, barrel is very important, but many people in Bordeaux use a bigger contenant today, and they do experimentation with 400 liters, 600 liters, or even 1,500 liters, and because with the global warming, perhaps we have a little bit less acidity, and barrel can be a little bit too much for wine, and perhaps a big contenant will give less contact with air and oak than a barrel, and so we can see more and more experimentation in the cellar with big contenant like cuve or 15 hectoliters, 10 hectoliters in oak, yes. And aging also.
Thank you for that explanation. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Miguel was saying also that we can age also some wine in vat for the second year, because the first year we stay normally in oak, but the second year perhaps we can stay in vat in inox, in steel vat, and because to keep the freshness, and we have to be careful with the oak, because the oak is aging wine quite quickly, and so on the warm vintage we have to be careful with that.
Well, speaking of evolving wine styles and evolution in winemaking in the Graves region and in Sauternes and Barsac, Miguel, I think I see many producers in Sauternes and Barsac making the wines, trying to get the wines to have a little less residual sugar than in the past. Maybe, as Olivier was pointing out, to try to keep the freshness in the wines. the style of the wines is evolving. Is this to meet the modern palate, the modern market, do you think?
Yes and not, because we try to maybe go more in the road of the freshness, but it's not the freshness. It's not the same to have less sugar. You understand me? You can't to wait to have the same body, but we need to have more freshness. The big problem in Sauternes, the big problem is not problem, but the big question is to have the good balance. The problem is the quantity of sugar. The question is the good balance. Often in La Tour Blanche, we have a style with maybe more body than other Sauternes. But we are often, with my neighbors, we have often the same concentration, but we all people try to have a more freshness. And global warming to help us a little, because we have we need to wait maybe a little less to have the good concentration. So we try to work in this way to have more freshness. Sometimes we lose maybe 5 points of sugar, residual sugar, but not not a lot of more, because if you go if you lose a lot of sugar, you lose the style of Sauternes and Barsac. So we have maybe more quantity of second wine, third wine, and it is more modern wine, modern style. But in the Grand Cru, I think we try to keep this concentration, but with more freshness. Olivier can say maybe something, because he knows a lot of Sauternes also.
I will add. Yes, thank you, Miguel. But you are completely right. It's a question of balance. And I really believe that the wine of Sauternes have never been as good as they are today. Never, 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 never. The balance of the wine are just incredible. And what I really like in the Sauternes is that there is sugar, but you don't see the sugar. It's not a heavy sugar. You know, the sugar makes just this wine sweet, but not sugar. It's not a question of sugar. And when the balance is nice, is when there is a structure, the sugar at the end, but this sweetness at the end, more than sugar, but in the same time, the acidity. And this balance is, for Sauternes, very important. And I think what is really very well done today is people really go as often as they need in the vineyard to pick the botrytis at the right time. And when you pick the botrytis at the right time, you keep the freshness of the fruit. And the enology has made a lot of new and the precision, you know, the word precision for Sauternes is so important. And we were not talking about precision 20 years ago. We were talking about sugar. Today, we are talking about precision. And sugar is not important. The level of sugar is not important. The level of sugar follows the quality of the wine. Is like it is. And in some vintage, it can be big. In some other vintage, it can be low. But what is important is the impression, the quality, the freshness, and this wonderful balance, and this word of precision, precision of the fruit, precision of the aromatic side, precision of the balance. That is Sauternes.
If I can say something, Jesse, maybe people think Sauternes and Barsac also are only dessert wine. If people have who can't to keep also this thing in this memory. It's Sauternes and Barsac are maybe the most modern wine of all Bordeaux. Why I say this? Because if you want to try Sauternes with cocktail, you can to make a cocktail with Sauternes. If you want to try Sauternes in aperitif, it's a great moment. If you want to try Sauternes with chicken, it's incredible. If you want to try to make Sauternes Barsac with cheese, it's amazing, and you can try with dessert. And if you want to wait Sauternes with 50 years or 60 years, it's like a digestive. You can make all that you want with Sauternes Barsac. And if often I joke with Bernard, but I say you can make this with Chevalier, or you can make this with Pessac Léognan. We can make this with Sauternes Barsac only. But it's very incredible wine. And if want people to keep this and try to have an ambassador with this message, thanks a lot for all producers of Sauternes Barsac.
Yes.
I'll never forget being in the region, being served oysters and having that paired with Sauternes. The very first time I was presented with this idea, I thought it was crazy. Of course, it works. It's incredible. It works so well. So, and Olivier, thanks for the explanation. I think what I'm tasting maybe less, it's not so much the sugar, but as you said, it's better balance in the wines, better than ever before. Lars, I know I can't keep up with all of the Q&A, so I'll ask you to read some of these questions to us for the last 10 minutes that we have with our two fantastic producers.
Sure, Jesse. I think that a lot of these general questions about climate and development of the region have sort of been answered in broad strokes, which has been great. A lot of great information in here. So I think that, and a lot of great questions coming in a little bit. I think, so Jeannie asked a question about the timing of picking the botrytis grapes at the right time. And I think that that is something that has got to be a real skill. And obviously it's going to be affected a little bit as the climate changes and there are variations from year to year. And so what I would say, can you discuss a little bit about the timing of picking the botryticized grapes, and then what are the challenges that come with that from the climate, from different vintages, and then what are the challenges in the cellar? There was another question there about Brett in the cellar, and is that affected by what's going on in the vineyard?
It's maybe in the future it's a big issue. Now we see different things. The first thing is that global warming have a good. I don't love to say this, but we have a good thing because we win with precision and we win with balance. But the problem is that we need always humidity. And the last September in 2021, 2020, we have a September very dry. And sometimes the botrytis arrive very très tard. We need to, pardon?
Late.
Thanks. The botrytis arrive maybe a little late. And if botrytis arrive a little late, we need the part of risk is more important because we begin to harvest very late in October, beginning of November, and the days are very short. So the botrytis can't concentrate and can't dry. So we wait with more time. We need more vintage to see if we have a very big issues in the future with botrytis. But now it's not very bad for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Olivier, did you want to add
what you say is in the last 7 years, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. On the last 7 years, 7 vintage, we have 5 great vintage for red. So global warming, I have to say, was good for Bordeaux, because in the past, we were waiting for the warm vintage to make great wine. Today, we don't need any more warm vintage to make great wine, because we have warm vintage nearly every year. And 2021, the last one was not warm, but it was more an exception. When in the past, the warm one were exception. So today, with global warming, Bordeaux was a little bit too north on the 45th parallel. But today, to be on the 45th parallel is really strong things. And Bordeaux have to learn in the future to plant some new grapes variety from the south. We have to learn how to manage the sun when there is too much sun, like the time we have now in Bordeaux, and perhaps we'll have to have a bigger vegetation, and the style of growing vine will change a little bit in the future, because we were looking for maturity in the past. Today, we have enough maturity, and today perhaps we'll put the foot on the brake, as I was saying before. So, but we are able to do that, and there is some possibility to stop a little bit the maturity, because we are quite north. Bordeaux on the 45th parallel is quite north, and the Atlantic Ocean, as we have seen before, is a wonderful, the wind coming from the US is our west, and they are wonderful for us. And the Gulf Stream and all that things are very good for Bordeaux. So for the moment, we are quite happy with the global warming, but we have to be careful with that, because the future will change again that things, and we'll have to be very careful with that.
So Rebecca asked a question that is somewhat related to that, with this added ripeness, this added maturity in the vineyards. Does this translate in the cellar to any risks with Brettanomyces forming greater?
Yeah, we have to be careful with that, of course, because the Brett are developing when the acidity is a little bit too low. We have lower acidity today than in the past, and the Brett is developing more easily when the acidity is not so high. And so we have to be careful with that. So the word of precision is very important. You have to be very clean in your cellar, and also the temperature. And so we have to control the temperature, but we have to be sure that our cellar are very well isolated, because in the past we were not doing so much attention with that, pay attention on that, but we'll have to be very careful on that isolation in the future, because the cellar in the summer, I don't know what Miguel thinks, but I think 20 years ago I was saying 19, 20 is okay, but today is more 17, 18 Celsius. Exactly, we don't like to have more than that for our wine in the cellar.
Just same, Bernard. Exactly yes. The same.
Fascinating. Okay, so I'm going to throw out one more question, because unfortunately we're starting to run short on time. And this is one of those questions that we could probably have a whole nother webinar on. But my friend Sam Bertugno asked a question that probably only an MS candidate would ask, but it's a fascinating question. So he's talking about the fact that white Bordeaux has one of the descriptors for it is a raw onion sulfur aroma. But he notices that that's typical of white Bordeaux, and he's also seen it in barrel-aged Sauvignon Blanc, even oak-aged California Sauvignon Blanc, but he does not see it in Sauternes. We were just talking about the versatility of Sauternes. What is the science behind it? Is this an oxidation of a reductive compound? He asks. He's curious to know the idea of that onion aroma and where it is and where it isn't.
Okay, I start.
Great.
Thank you, Miguel. No, Bordeaux is made of Sauvignon and Semillon, and in the dry white wine we have some vineyard have some wine have a large majority of Sauvignon, like we do with 70% Sauvignon. But in the white wine, the dry white wine we produce in Sauternes, we have 70% Semillon. And so these two grapes variety are quite different. Sauvignon is very fruity and very aromatic. And when Semillon need more time to explain, to express the full capacity of expression of fruit expression. So Semillon need more time. Sauvignon is very fruity from the beginning. And the fruit of the Sauvignon is more on the grapefruit, lemon, orange. It can be white flower. It can be so. For me, this onion taste is not coming from the fruit. It's coming from aging. So you were talking about oak, and perhaps I was telling you also that we have to be careful with oak, because the oak must not be dominated the wine. The wine is the most important. Give me a good fruit, I will give you a good wine. Fruit is working with wine, but the wine is not depending on the oak. The oak must follow. It must not be in front of the wine. And so, if you age your wine for a too long time, if your barrel are not really nice, clean and pure. If you use too much oak, perhaps you can have some deviation. And for me, I like purity, I like elegance, I like respect of the fruit, and I like to work close to the fruit, you know. And for me, onion is not a quality. Is not a quality. I don't know if you like this taste, but I cannot imagine onion in a white wine. I love onion, but I cannot. You know, we were talking about Sauternes. If you have a lovely chicken with very well cooked and long cooking onion for a long time, you can have a lovely sweetness going with this Sauternes, with the freshness of the Sauternes. But yeah, voilà. So I think the white Bordeaux must be more on this side of clean. The oak must be there, but just as a support, not more. And be careful with oxidation. So we have a revolution in the last few years with Diam, and we use Diam. I don't know what Miguel is doing with Diam, but we use Diam on every wine we do. The Domaine de Chevalier Red, white, the Esprit de Chevalier, the Clos des Lunes, Domaine de la Solitude, 100% of our wine are Diam, because with Diam, you are sure that all the bottle will be the same. And
right.
the purity,
corks.
yes, Diam corks, yes, is really a revolution.
That's great. All right, Sam, I hope that helped you a little bit. And I know I promised that was going to be the last question, but Michael just threw another good one in there that I think relates very well to what Olivier just spoke about in terms of having good fruit. In other appellations of Bordeaux, they've been changing toward allowing different grape varieties in that are perhaps a little bit more responsive, a little bit better with the warmer climate. Do you see that happening in Graves or any of the other
Yeah, you know, in the Grave, 20 years ago, there was a big majority of Merlot. When in the Pessac-Léognan, we have already a majority of Cabernet Sauvignon. Domaine de Chevalier is for a very long time at 65-70% Cabernet Sauvignon. But I'm sure that in the next 20 years, we'll have more Cabernet, less Merlot, more Cabernet Franc, more Petit Verdot, and less Merlot. Perhaps we will see some Syrah, some experimentation of Syrah. Perhaps we'll see, and what is sure is that in Sauternes, for the white, we'll have to find the cold part of our terroir to produce this great white wine, for sure.
It's less easy in Sauternes than Barsac because we don't have a Cabernet Sauvignon. We have only 3 varieties: Semillon, Sauvignon, and Muscadel, and we don't have play with another variety, Sauvignon Gris, but it's very small quantity. So in Sauternes, we maybe manage in different way with this issue, but we don't have new variety.
Yes, but Miguel, in Sauternes, you can have more Sauvignon in the future than today, because as you know, there is more acidity in the Sauvignon. And when you look at the old history of Sauternes, there was a lot of Sauvignon in the past. And perhaps we'll have to plant, I personally replant quite a lot of Sauvignon in Sauternes today.
Maybe the future. And you need to always hear that what they say, Olivier.
Yeah. So will we see Touriga Nacional coming into Graves?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And we'll do some port.
Never know. Well, this has been fantastic. Great material, great information, great insight. Jesse, Miguel, Olivier, thank you guys so much for this wonderful opportunity. And thank you to the SOM Foundation. Emily, you want to give us a little reminder of what's at stake here? People have been taking notes and diligently copying things, learning, getting ready for their essay.
Yes. So as a reminder, everyone who attended this webinar will have the opportunity to submit an essay before midnight on July 31st for a chance to win a $500 scholarship. We will be sending you an email within the next 48 hours with all of the details. You must be currently working in the beverage industry to qualify for the essay competition, and all awardees will be announced by August 12th. Thank you guys so much. This was great.
Awesome. And as I mentioned earlier, Gregory and Vine are going to throw in a couple of little sampling of some of the wines of the region too, so you can get a firsthand taste, literally, of it. So remember that this has been recorded. The recording will be on somjournal.com. It's been on Facebook Live on the Som Journal platform. And the update, the recap is going to be in the October issue of the Som Journal. So on behalf of Som Journal and Som Foundation, thank you all very much for tuning in. Again, Jesse, Miguel, Olivier, thank you guys very much. It's been a ton of information. Very well done. Very well communicated. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day, folks.
Thank you.
Au revoir.
Merci beaucoup.
Cheers. Stay cool, everyone.
Stay cool.